851. Go ahead and disregard the checks. We got him at San Jacinto Pacific. Out there.
3 bombings within a 2-mile area were more than a coincidence. But no one claimed responsibility, and no one in particular was targeted. What finally stopped the bomber were some tiny marks on a metal fragment and his inability to control his rage. The biggest employer in Grand Junction, Colorado, isn't the ski industry or the wineries that have sprouted up over the last dozen or so years. Surprisingly, it's the local school district. Dennis Lamb was a vocational teacher in the district's career center.
I taught computer applications, computer repair, and video production. It's mainly for students who did not fit in the mainstream of the academics for whatever reason.
On a February evening in 1991, Dennis and his co-workers attended a vocational awards banquet in the convention center in downtown Grand Junction. Afterwards, as they walked to their cars in an underground parking lot, there was a deafening explosion.
I thought I'd been shot. I was hit in the lower leg.
The explosion was a bomb detonated about 30 yards away. A piece of shrapnel had ripped through Dennis's leg.
An explosive device was set on a vehicle. The device fell either off of the vehicle or certainly down to the ground, and an explosion occurred.
I did not at the time think that there was anybody after me specifically because of the location of it.
Fortunately, Dennis didn't suffer any permanent injury. No one claimed responsibility for the bombing. Explosive experts knew from the amount of debris that it was a fairly sophisticated pipe bomb.
We actually had schematics of how far bomb fragmentation flew. And you do that because you can tell how well the bomb was constructed. If a pipe bomb blows apart in 2 pieces, obviously it's not too effective. If it blows apart in 32 pieces, somebody has made a better pipe bomb.
3 weeks later, the Gonzalez family was going shopping at a nearby mall, and everyone had piled into the family van. Just as the van started moving, there was an explosion.
Something happened to the van, and my little sister got something in her back. She's bleeding real bad. Hurry.
Okay, I need you to hold on. The rescue squad's already on the way.
But it was too late. By the time the ambulance got there, 12-year-old Maria Gonzalez was dead. The explosion sent a piece of shrapnel directly through the seat back and into Maria's heart.
Grand Junction, Colorado did not have a lot of homicides, and to have something that tragic happen to a little girl was just very, very startling and shocking to the entire community.
No one else in the vehicle was seriously injured. Investigators discovered that the bomb had been placed in the rear wheel well of the Gonzalez van. This bombing was only about 2 miles away from the first bomb site. Once again, no one claimed responsibility, and there was no reason why the Gonzalez family was targeted.
There was some concern about, do we have someone who is a serial bomber? Do we have a copycat who's heard about one bomb and planted another bomb also in the downtown area? Or what exactly do we have? But one thing we knew was we had a problem.
A problem that was soon to get worse. The detonation devices in 2 Grand Junction bombs were highly sophisticated. Each used a 9-volt battery that was placed on a vehicle and then went off when the vehicle moved.
If you make a pipe bomb and you want to set it off so it's booby-trapped, you're going to try to do it so whatever that individual that you target or unsuspecting person moves, jars, tilts, twists, would set it off.
In the rubble, investigators found pieces of curved glass, the outer shell of a mercury switch.
The mercury switch connected and exploded. And when these bombs explode, there's tremendous force. There's greater force, greater speed, greater acceleration than with a fired .45 caliber pistol.
A mercury switch is a glass ball filled with mercury, a liquid metal. It's a hair-trigger device, and it looked like the bomber would have hand-carried it from his home to the target vehicle.
Once you close it up, you now have to carry it in the same position that you built it. If you tilt it up, roll it sideways, it's going to blow up. So very few people do that unless they have mental instability.
Investigators searched their files for anyone who had prior arrests for making explosive devices. One was 19-year-old Shannon Keith, a factory worker who lived just 10 minutes outside of town in Clifton. He'd been arrested 15 months earlier for possessing pipe bombs and was sentenced to 2 months probation.
He had had some involvement with pipe bombs, but with a significant difference from the pipe bombs that we were talking about here.
Keith claimed he wasn't in Grand Junction when the bombs were planted, an alibi that checked out, so he was eliminated as a suspect. A closer look at the bomb debris revealed the steel end caps had a distinctive stamp from the manufacturer. It was Coin brand pipe.
It's a circle that was on the side of the end cap, and on the inside of the stamp of the circle was a square. And the manufacturer of that was from Taiwan. It was a substandard product that was being imported into America and was subsequently discontinued.
The Coin brand was not only an inferior product, it hadn't been sold in the United States for several years. But investigators were convinced that the bomber was mentally unstable.
This case was unique in that we had obviously an individual that was randomly placing bombs in public to randomly kill people. That's much more different than if I'm mad at you because we're in the middle of a divorce, I feel you cheated me out of money.
3 months later, Henry Rubel and his wife Suzanne left a downtown restaurant to head home. As he got into their truck, he noticed a package on the ground near the passenger side. Mr. Rubel was killed instantly.
Everybody was scared. Henry was very well liked. It took such a positive man away from everybody, and you're just scared. I mean, you felt like you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, where's it going to pop up next?
Henry's body shielded his wife from the blast. She walked away unharmed.
An explosion of that nature, there's a lot of shrapnel that is flying through the air, and it was through the grace of God that she wasn't killed.
This was the most powerful of the 3 bombs. Shrapnel went completely through the truck, and some of it was found 2 blocks away. In the debris, analysts found a bomb fragment with the Coin brand stamp, along with shards of curved glass from a mercury switch. This was no copycat. The same bomber was at work, and he was building bigger, more powerful bombs.
We can all understand frustration and we can all understand rage. What I cannot understand is, once you've killed a 12-year-old girl, how do you do this again?
Grand Junction had been rocked by 3 bombs within a 3-month period. Components indicated they were made by the same person, but there was no connection among the victims. The bomber was killing randomly. But why?
We tried to see if there was any connection between the victims. We didn't believe that there was. The devices were placed randomly, which added to the danger in that it made everybody susceptible to becoming a victim.
The bombs were similar in construction and were planted within blocks of one another.
And now I'm putting together a detailed chart of the difference in the bombs. And from the first to the last bomb, we saw an increase in talent as far as making a better bomb, and associated with that was the increase in injury and death.
Since the bombs used a mercury switch, investigators believe the bomber hand-carried them to the bomb sites rather than risking an explosion by jarring or bumping the package in a car or bus. And if he hand-carried the bombs, he probably lived close to the bomb sites, which were near the Two Rivers Convention Center.
Does he have to have a car? No. Can he walk around? Yes.
On a hunch, investigators asked convention center management if they knew of any disgruntled employees, past or present.
They went through their list of employees, and there was one that at least stood out in their mind that was a former employee, if I recall, who didn't quite fit with the group.
His name was James Genrick, a 29-year-old dishwasher who worked in the convention center cafeteria until he left his job a few months before the bombings.
He was a disgruntled employee, and they finally told him to hit the road. But it was a mutual agreement, if I recall right.
Genrick lived in a boarding house just 2 blocks from the convention center. A background check revealed Genrick had prior arrests for minor incidents of burglary and vandalism. He never served time in jail.
He fit the profile, not only for being a white male of that age bracket, but he fit the profile for being a person that is more or less a loner, that has a problem dealing in life, everyday life.
When questioned by law enforcement, Genrick denied any involvement and willingly allowed them to search his room. But they found no traces of explosives or bomb-making materials.
I didn't have any pipes, explosives, bombs, or anything like that, anything to do with bombs.
In Genrick's room, investigators found a handwritten note on the back of an envelope. It was addressed, "To whom it may concern."
Valentine's Day is coming, and I still don't have a sweetheart. All I wanted was a girlfriend, but these girls won't talk to me. If you won't help me find a girlfriend, then I'll have to kill some poor innocent stranger tonight.
Yeah, that's what I wrote when I was drunk and pissed off and in a bad mood and stuff.
These bitches still won't even talk to me. If I can't be happy, I might as well kill one.
I was going to a therapist for a while. They said that I should write things down and then just throw them away. And obviously I didn't throw this one away.
During a background check, investigators learned that Genrick tried to order a book in a local store that described how to make a bomb.
He was confronted with, what do you need that type of book for that shows how to make bombs or what have you? He tells her that, oh no, there's other uses for that book. Nice try.
The clerk in the local bookshop refused to order it.
He throws a tantrum. So we have an adult who throws a tantrum over a woman who won't let him order the book he wants.
But this still wasn't proof of murder. James Genrick was the prime suspect in the bombings in Grand Junction, Colorado that killed 2 people and injured a 3rd. Without enough evidence to arrest him, investigators put Genrick under surveillance, and they didn't care if he knew it.
It was probably about 3 or 4 months. This was very stressful. It was weird because sometimes they'd be, they'd just be kind of walking about 10 feet behind me, walking with their walkie-talkies like they were trying to let everybody know, that they were following me.
Interestingly, during that time, there were no more bombings. And investigators learned 2 more things about Genrick. First, a few years earlier, he took electronics courses in Arizona. Second, his mother once tried to commit him to a mental health facility.
In her petition, there was mention that he became frustrated at people looking at him, and he threw rocks at their vehicles while they're on this vacation. Things of that nature. He went out, I guess, one night and was yelling and screaming at a neighbor. things of that nature.
So investigators searched Genrich's boarding house one more time.
The second search, we didn't find any pipe ends, galvanized pipes, gunpowder, things of that nature. We did recover tools that he had in the apartment. There was some electrical circuits, wiring type material or items.
Investigators sent the tools to John O'Neill, a tool mark examiner with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. By this time, he had spent months looking for tool marks on the more than 300 fragments from the Grand Junction bombs. He found several, and for comparison, made sample marks from tools found in James Genrich's room. Pliers had been used to tighten the end caps on the bombs, and this left distinctive marks that survived the blasts.
We're looking at the topography of the surface as the mark left by that tool.
O'Neill found the same number of striations with the same thickness on the test marks from Genrich's pliers and from one of the bomb's end caps. When compared under a microscope, it was a perfect match. Next, on pieces of wire wrapped around the bombs, O'Neill also found distinct tool marks. When compared with the marks made by Genrich's wire cutters, the tool marks matched up perfectly.
The point of it being another tool would be almost to the point of being beyond probability.
Matching the tool marks to a tool that is found in the possession of the suspect is pretty damning.
On one of the wires, 1/100th of an inch in diameter, O'Neill not only found tool marks made by Genrich's needle-nosed pliers, he also discovered that it was the same brand wire as all the other bombs.
So we were able, in fact, to tie 3 tools to the devices, and then those fine wires being manufactured in the same machine or have a common source.
But what was the motive? Genrich never held a steady job, barely made enough money to support himself, never had a steady relationship. And when he lost his job as a dishwasher at the convention center, something apparently snapped. He spent the next several months in his rented room, planning his revenge.
Pretty soon you get to the point, especially if you're a psychopath, the world's against me. I'm going to get even. Therefore, I have this need, I need to kill people. I didn't get a girlfriend. I need to go out and kill.
He used his electronics knowledge to build bigger, more lethal bombs. He was meticulous enough to make sure no gunpowder residue remained in his room. But he didn't know that his tools left unique marks that survived the explosions and ultimately exposed him. Despite the evidence, Genrich denied any involvement.
I was kind of a loner, and I was always in a pissed off mood, and he said that I think they just wanted to pin this crime on somebody, and they figured they could get it, pin it on me.
Emotion. We call human emotion. He doesn't have it, does he? He's like, I'm disconnected. But the first thing he lets you know is, I'm normal because everybody else is f***ed up, and that's why I have a problem. But he tells you that. So when anybody tells you, I'm really a good guy, but I'm screwed up because people have done me wrong. Hello.
In May of 1993, James Genrich was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and a dozen bomb-related charges. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Well, I got a lawyer still working on my appeal, so I think that's my best hope right now. But hopefully somebody will see this and come forward and say that, I know the guy that did it or something like that, but you never know.
Love to smack him. I mean, I still feel a lot of anger because he cheated me out of something that You know, I felt I had a right to. You know, Henry was my father, and I don't have that right anymore. He took something away.
Investigators say there's no doubt James Genrick would have continued to kill if he hadn't been caught. But old-fashioned police work exposed him, and forensic science provided the proof.
You had a lot of circumstances that sort of pointed towards him, but you don't put somebody in prison for the rest of his life based on circumstances. You put him there based on proof. And in that regard, I think that it was John O'Neill's testimony and Jerry Taylor's testimony that did that.